Oi, oi. Welcome back to the Mountain League channel. Another post for you here today, guys. We're going to look at a mind-blowing subject. What we're going to look into is the rebellion in India in 1857. It's known as the Sepoy Mutiny, and it's when the Indian army, the Sepoys, have had enough of being treated badly, having less wages than the British troops that are occupying India, and they have a rebellion. Now, the official narrative is quite mind blowing, but the evidence itself is not really matching what they're saying. And we'll start here. I've downloaded the two earliest sets of photographs for Lucknow, which is a city here, and Delhi, the Indian capital, in 1857 and 1858. And what you find, this photograph here is what looks like essentially a Greco-Romano building. And it is a photograph of slaughtered 2,000 rebels by the Highlanders and the 4th Punjabi Regiment. And this was published in 1858. So the year the rebellion ended. Now, it took 2 years to quell the rebellion. There was the siege and destruction of what is an incredible city, Lucknow. And then Delhi and other cities were affected, Calcutta, etc. So what we see here in this photograph is skulls and bones. Now, what I can't get my head around is if that's 2,000 dead people and it's photographed 1 year after their apparently being killed, then how come they're already skeletons and bones? Okay, for the benefit of the doubt, that the heat of the Indian sun and bugs, etc., and vultures will pick bones dry so they look just like skeletons. Okay, we'll say that. But the fact still remains that if this is a year later and the streets or the outside the building is covered with bones of people, 2,000 odd of them, that would mean that they never cleaned them up. That would mean they destroyed the city and all of the thousands of people were left lying in the street. Well, that doesn't ring true with siege mentality. If you're being sieged or besieged by heavy forces, in this case the British, you think you clean up the dead because of disease, etc. So there are too many questions with these photographic records. Lucknow itself is this massive, beautiful city. This photograph you see here belonged to the king. It's the king's boat and it's in the shape of a fish. Again, publication date by Beto, who was a Brit in 1858. So you can imagine Mr. Beto. He's walked through Lucknow a year after this terrible siege, bombardment, apparently, etc. And he's photographed the city. Now, what bugs me about all of this is the fact that the rebellion itself, the Sepoy Rebellion, put an end to the rule of the British East India Company. The British East India Company ruled India up until the end of the rebellion. And then the British government and the British army take over. And then India becomes a part of the Raj. So can we presume that all of these buildings, or some of these classical type buildings, have been built by the East India Company? What I can't get my head around is the scale. So what I imagined, because official narratives are woefully inadequate, especially if they're coming from the victor. So what we're looking at is the narrative from the British government, from the British in the history books. And the official history says that the rebels, they rose up against the British or the rule of the East India Company. And in the next 2 years, 1 million Indians will die. The British casualties are 6,000. 6,000 British, they say 1 million. Okay, so that's the official sum, believe it or not, of how many casualties. So I can presume, because they would never tell you what really went on because it looks like the apocalypse here, I would say there's some sort of reset happened. Change in ruler, these buildings, how the hell are they there? It's just, this is what is essentially looks like a Roman arch entrance to the city gate. It's even got the Phoenician flower banding on top. This is indeed a classical building. How is it there? And then you look into the distance and you see the most fantastic antiquity, the palace. Some of them are still intact but have taken damage, and the rest of the city, it lies in ruins. So, of course, the victors are going to give their, their interpretation of events. But if you do what I do and find the earliest photographs available, and then you look through them, questions start to arise. First question is how come this level of destruction? I can appreciate tens of thousands of British troops were involved, and I can appreciate that they had big cannons by 1850s. They would have had high explosives too. So they would have maybe done this from a constant bombardment that turned buildings into tiny little bricklets. If you look at the buildings themselves, they're full of bullet holes. Well, 1850s, it's not automatic weapons available. 1850s, it's still flintlock. That's load your gun and then discharge your weapon and then load it up again. But we have got field cannon. Let's look at this flag that is on the field cannon. It's not a flag. I actually thought it looked like an American flag then. It's just the size of the card. It's not a cannon at all. What that is, I don't know. And they're the cannonballs, the armament of the time. Little round balls, which they're shooting at this palace here. And the little round balls do that. Looks Moorish by flavour. It's absolutely beautiful. So there's a soldier in there. So it's already fallen. Well, it's obviously this is after the siege has ended and the cameraman's gone in. But the size and the scale of these buildings is unbelievable. Yeah, so they did all this destruction with little tiny balls. It gives you all these photographs here. Mostly I have got to share with you, which will show you this, what was a beautiful city that has had this happen by little tiny cannonballs. So as I said, official narratives, not really. A million people. Well, add the rest. Apparently, after the rebellion itself, the British come into rule, and they do restrictions on shortages on food in India. The narrative won't tell you the complete truth, but they do admit that there was a huge famine, and they admit that millions died after the rebellion, caused by the rebellion. So there's no other way of looking at it, guys. Okay, this was a reset. This was a British reset of India, and they took control to rule. But look at this: who's building? Obviously, the British under the East India Company. Interesting little wooden ladder to these unusual-looking little antiquitech things, and never seen that on a building before. Looks like sun rays, doesn't it? So yeah, devoid of population. Obviously, there's only a few people dotted around. I can only presume that the population in 1857 has been decimated. Now, this looks like there's something under that mound. You see these all over the world. I think that a lot of them are pyramids myself. Wow. Four Angels Tech, Onion Doman. Instead of towelets, these rods. Wow, that is some old technology there. And you'd see a domed stupa with antiquitech on top. So yeah, the city itself is just lying in rubble. So let's just imagine that the official narrative that they give us for Lucknow and Delhi and the Sepoy Rebellion is a cover story for the reset and destruction of India. And this city, Lucknow, is quite a mind blow. Again, with the old Roman type arch. Again, in the side bits, windows that have already been bricked up. So let me get my head around this. The British have built this less than 100 years earlier, and they put windows in, and they've already bricked them up, and it's all classical architecture in India. And then it's all destroyed by 1857. I think it was a reset. I think these photographs are telling us it's a reset. Look at the scale of destruction. Look at the holes. Seems to be just pounding it then. If they're going to destroy it with cannonballs, you've got to pound it constantly from close, because there's no range on field cannons at all. Hundreds of yards, and then it loses power, and then it just pings off of its target if you're not close up. There's no range. So it looks like there's a couple members of the Punjabi regiments that supported the British in the Quell, and the slaying of a million rebels and their supporters. There is say that they tried to put in the narrative that, oh, well, the thuggies, they were to blame for a lot of the deaths, and it wasn't the British. Look at these. They look like speakers, don't they? Look at this architecture. Constantina, Liber et Constantina. So, this is a Constantine. Lions, and these look like speakers. Just mind-blowing. Nothing seems to be unscratched. A cannonball went through there, but that shows you, if the cannonball went through this masonry, it doesn't splatter it into tiny little bricklets. You'd have to shoot it 1,000,000 times. Don't get it. Just don't get the narrative, what they say. Look at that for a building, though, guys. And look on the roof, if you look on top of a bell, you see four beams coming in and converging in the middle, but you see them on top of roofs, you see them in great expositions. I think they're a focal point for chi energy of the building. I think you could get invigorated in one of these old amazing buildings. Like I said, I'm guessing we could attribute the Mughals who were in power to building some of this. I'm sure the Indians are fine builders, but definitely under the British bequesteth. So yeah, there's nothing in the city, no people, no roads, no infrastructure, yet they got these buildings. Anybody? Just mud outside. You don't see any roads. These are supposed to be built with horse and carty. So get the quarry together first. Get the quarry together. Get the Nelson's column in the middle of a lake, which is in the middle of the city. This is for sure classical looking. A landing platform for an all-world balloon, maybe. And look at that palace in the background for scale. Okay. And just one or two people around a kid there. And the city itself is just dustified, laying with skeletons. Now, I can't get my head around how quick them Dead bodies turned into skeletons, because if these are 1857 and the rebellion of Lucknow was a year before in 1856, or the slaying of all these people in 1856, then how a year later, when they're taking photographs, are they already skeletons? Maybe it's just the heat. Look at that. Whoa. I wonder what these wires are for in 1850s, because there is no wireless communication or things like that as such happening. Telegraph, but that is it. And another aerial too. Curious, no radio at this period. What are the aerials always for? So yeah, classical building with some crazy Indian influence here. I can even see this tower looks like Italy here. It looks Italian, but you got the burning pot thing going on that you see on Phoenician buildings. Lower windows. This looks like an older world that has been captured by the British and reset. Look at it. Just mud and then that building. Just mud and that building. How does that make any sense? How does that even make sense to get something that big? And look what the cannonry did, 1857, to this poor city. Unfortunately, named, isn't it? Lucknow. It's like, got to rethink that. They got an unbelievable city wall as well. Look at that. Looks like Rajasthan's wall. But the rest of it outside is tiny little bricklets and frames of buildings. Maybe they just weren't as solid as the palaces and fine buildings of Lucknow. Like the thing that should be in Venice. This is not actually in Venice. This is in Lucknow. You got the Phoenician band in here, and it looks like it should be in San Marcos Square. And you've got the troops here, the British troops, with their guns. And this building has been peppered by cannonry, but again, they just make holes and the building stands. But it looks a solid bit of masonry, I must admit. But it still raises the question of whether buildings end up dustified. No, they say in by cannonballs. Oh my God, look at this building. Oh my. Imagine what's in them little boxes and discs. That one took a bullet. They tried shooting it. Maybe they knew the old technology. So you got like little discs, Fox disc. You know, this is not aesthetics, guys, is it? It doesn't look very aesthetic. It looks very space agey, excuse the term. Is that an oil lamp on top? I doubt anyone could get out there like that. The dome itself is massive. You can see that. And various entrances into it. Curious temples, these Indian temples. And the rest we can just presume is cannonry underneath. These are definitely built by what looks like flat red brick. Flat red brick you could attribute to Rome because they use flat red brick. And the, again, window tax in India. Why are they blocking up windows all over antiquity? And look at this building. So yeah, these are the earliest photographs available anywhere. Because I have searched far and wide and they don't come earlier than this, 1856. And photography has only been around apparently for like 15 years max. So it is quite interesting that there's no problems with fuzzing unless the people are just standing absolutely still. But these are for 1856. Exceptionally good photograph quality. I'd say HD, really. I'd say HD. But yeah, so these are some of the troops. Some of them have unusual clothing, I'll show you, but they could have had mercenaries. But what unusual antiquity. You got two angels, very Christian like, not very, and then mermaids. So these are Finns, maybe. But the mermaid men, we get them with the Phoenicians. Lots of statues, classical themed. And this curious thing, columns and ribbons of or walls. I wonder what it does. Is it a staircase? Anyway, very curious indeed. It's a wet patch there. I hope you haven't peed against that building. It's taken enough destruction. So, oh, this is the palace, one of the palaces. Lucknow has Moorish Phoenician theme. There's no doubt about that. And it's big, like built for giants. And it's beautiful. And it is brimming with antiquitech, wouldn't you say? Wow. Just look at it. All these statues. This building looks like it survived it, but outside, dust and rubble. And it looks like, to be honest with you guys, the dust and rubble looks ancient. You know, it looks packed from time. I'm not sure that official narrative makes any sense to me. They probably reset it, changed the government, killed a ton of people. The official million is woefully inadequate, I would say. I would say that this, or witnessing here, was the real Holocaust. Again, all that shitty infrastructure, nothing. So I can you get your head around that they built that building and they dragged all of the materials on mud and there was no roads per se, or no pavements, lampposts, or anything like that. Just brimming with ancient antiquitech, for angel technology. Stunning. Look at this thing. Beautiful. Again, it feels Moorish. Look at the detail. So they've put some scaffolding up here, really rudimentary wooden poles. But look at this. All pouring down. Wow. So yeah, the city was. Oh, look at that bit of antiquitech. The city was brimming with these beautiful palaces, but look outside the palace, just dirt, just dirt. That makes no sense. Makes no sense to me. Delhi, same story, same period. These are the earliest photographs available of Delhi, which became New Delhi, and it is like Lucknow, jam-packed with this unusually amazing architecture, okay, in what looks like an ancient wasteland. That's what I can't get my head around. These are supposed to be populated places. The sieges drag on for nearly 2 years until it's quelled, and all of there's no people left to fight anymore. I don't know why I'm laughing, but that looks like what's happened, guys. Just 2 people. We've got a little sidewalk going on in Delhi, but again, dirt roady going on. So these are in Delhi. You can see here bullet holes in that apartment there. And again, these Phoenician style of architecture on the roofs. This looks like a little bit of New Orleans, doesn't it? But New Orleans is very Moorish by design. Let's have a look at this. So there's an ancient fort, isn't it? Beyond there, nothing but wilderness and fields. It's very flat. And then you got all this really ancient darker stone, beautifully dressed stone. If you mag up on it, it looks like really well fitted stone. And whoever that civilization is completely decimated. But you can see that Delhi was once a very fine place, full of gardens. The gardens that they had are in this period have overgrown because there's no people left to look after them. And the landscape itself looks like it's an ancient wasteland and like a city that they have found, is what it looks like. This is Delhi. Where's no people, and everything is a bit, these little bushes everywhere, and they got the gate into the city. And so, yeah, they had the British pound it with artillery as a little, what looks like an Anglo-Saxony British type of affair with the graveyard, because you've got the obelisks that look like pyramids. You've got a cannon up on the tower there, very low towery. I come from Wales, and we have more castles than cooked dinners, and they are mighty walls compared to them little things. Oh, okay. This is what British artillery. I tell you what, no wonder if this is true. Okay, no wonder the British ruled the world if they had this, if they could yield this sort of offensive. Outside, nothing but mud and dirt, few Indian chappage, and this is pounded by cannons. So it just doesn't ring true. Again, another, completely separate city, showing us the same sort of architecture, the same sort of brickery underneath low windows, and outside nothing but stones and grass, and it's overgrown for years, and it's devoid of any significant population. Later on, these photographs I'm going to show you go into 1859 and then into 1870s, when the British apparently do a military exercise. Yes. So one of the gates into the city, pounded. If this, in the modern day, you wouldn't be able to see this because there would be so many people, but there's only, and these are Sikhs. I don't even think they're from Delhi. So let's say where's turbans in Delhi, Turkman Gate. So this is the gate for Turkman, the Turks to go through. Turkman Gate. Well, there is a lot of Turkish type of architecture, considering it's Indian. There's a few more people in there. Bit of marquetry going on and a bit of everyday stuff. So who built this little castle there? Again, outside, just ancient stonework. And honestly, it's just got that feel of a very ancient city that has been laying in rubble for quite some time. So these lot are the brave rebels that basically weren't happy with conditions. Their wages were way under what the British were getting, and they wanted out. So they tried themselves for a little couage. Yeah, well, that usual rebellion against the British Empire ends very nasty indeed. Here is some British troops. After this, they'll be off to the Crimea and should possibly die. He looks like he's got a German type helmet, that chap there. Very curious how these people just waltz into other people's countries, take control, and the people who are there just say, yeah, okay, do you want something to eat? Oh, politely. A little head wobble. This is a regiment of very little people, little Indian people. Not choice perspective. The building behind it is dustified, and they're standing in muck, just dry muck. Look at that building. Wow. They could have deployed some weaponry they're not talking about. The size of this stonework as well, to be disintegrated into a pile of bleh. So, yeah, I would say that India was reset by the British in the 1850s. Millions and who even knows how many. Just blame the thuggies. They killed the millions. Millions perished, and then there was a famine. And India, its golden era, when it had all the beautiful buildings, was over. This looks like it should belong in Rome. It's got a little Greco-Romano entrance, and it's got a look of, you know, a Roman dome on top. And it is, in fact, a Christian church, because you can see it's a cross in India. So I guess in the East India Company built that. So they're just cannonry. Not. They're just cats. No cannons, are they? No. Yes, but they're tiny little cannons. Okay, they're just tiny little, you know, cannons doing all of that damage to these cities. All these ancient, massive buildings. And what you get in front of this building is what looks like Rome, because you've got this wall and these pillars. And that building has taken some devastation. Outside, again, just nothing but no roads, no paths leading up to them, nothing what you would expect for a city, except for the buildings lying in ancient landscape, like so. Forgotten by time. Isn't it crazy, guys? So, yeah, again, I don't think the official narrative tallies up. I don't think the numbers are true. I think by looking at the photographic record, something very, very bad happened to India. What would you say? Got a flag flying there, little white flag. What's that? Surrender. And what's this pole carrying? Just a single telegraph wire. I don't know what that big thing is there. Maybe something to do with water carrying. Just no population considering the size of the city, because these are obviously either survivors or they've come in from the country. No, these are just military. The population is gone, which in my mind is a reset, isn't it? It's that same Roman flat brickage going on. Well, Roman, for want for a better phrase. Even this looks classical by theme. And some Indian troops who gave all of that trouble. So they had, what did they have? Just to put things, a spear. He got a little gun. He's got a stick. He's got what looks like maybe a samurai sword or something. What have the British got? Oh, the British got cannons, which if you shoot them at people, that could do damage. And these buildings have reduced to dust. So that's what the British did. They just ploughed them with cannonry. Oh, look at this building. I bet you could land a balloon on that tower. No problemo. But wow, again, bristling with antiquitech. Wow. Rightio, let's give him a good old pounding, what? No, not now. Why? Well, it's tiffin time. We're going to have a cup of tea. We're going to have a cup of tea. There's plenty of time to fight the enemy. They don't stand a chance anyway. So that was the attitude of the British, apparently. They used to, let's just not battle to, you know, we could start again at 3 and just have a cup of tea. Tiffin. And a bit of bitty. So, how old are these buildings? Look, why did they block these doors up? Bricked, big, huge slabs. Why build them to block them off? Very curious. Nice big wallage. What looks like villas on top, but well protected by that wall. Just troops outside and shit and mud, dirt. So have a little look at these chappages. I think they are military. Unusual Look to this chap, a little bit modern looking. Or a little bit later, they got lights there. No, they're just tops of just balls on tops of decoration. Okay, so that looks like camels, and they did the enemy apparently. Oh, I say the enemy. The rebels had gun camels, things they could put on camels with gun emplacements, guns on them. Wow, look at the size of this for a door. All grown over outside. There's like a little shrine. He's unusually dressed, isn't he? He's got a gun. He's got a gun. So, everyone who's in the cities are not really population. Look to be supporting forces. Look at this stonework as well. Just so precise. Just wow. Wowza. Wowza. So it looks a bit Arabic to me, but there you go. Oh, whoa. What is this beauty? It's a Christian Celtic cross on top of this pyramid churchy looking building, which has definitely got the feel of British Anglican church. And outside, these huge slabs. Look at these guys. What could this be? Whatever was there before. And then they've blown it up and built this, maybe? Look at all of the decoration on it. Just unbelievable. That never got destroyed, did it? Everything outside looks a bit destroyed, though. So here they are. This is later. These are the Raj. So it comes into the age now of viceroys and governors that rule different parts of the massive country of India. And the viceroy is like the viceroy of Delhi, but they have the Indian royal lineage still in place, the Mughals, etc., but they're not in power because the British are. And they've got fine Indian troops. Later on, they become the Bengal Lancers, and these look like Gurkhas because we did take Gurkhas apparently to the rebellion, and the Gurkhas are from Burma, and they would just do absolutely anything for the British Empire. They would jump out of an aeroplane without a parachute for the British Empire. What we're seeing here is a arrival of, these look like banana trees, and the arrival of the Prince of Wales. He's coming to check out all of the viceroys. Here they are, the people that rule India. Oh, they're very nice and pretty, aren't they, these Indian ladies? Yes, I have noticed that. And they're very friendly. They smile. Yes, I have noticed that. Should we move you? Take it all. So there's the British and all of their finery. It's hard to believe that this is the same, organization that are here today. Because I come from Britain, and years ago they were taking over entire countries and doing this gnarly stuff. Today, they do it to their own people. So here is a load of dignitaries. Oh, he's like, oh, you. His face is saying, oh, you entitled fucks, is what he's saying. So they look like huzzahs. And the Prince of Wales, or whoever that chap is, coming over to visit his lovely domain. This nice studio, nice beautiful HD photograph from 1878. And here is all the flags of the nations, America, Britain, and Turkey, and all of the dignitaries keeping out of the heat and watching things going on. So there's the Indian elite here. I'm just going off to have tea with the Maharaja. Maharaja, yes, I always have tea with the Maharaja at 4 o'clock, and then tiffin. Tiffin is very important, you know. And then I'm off to the Khyber Pass. Is that a long way from here? Yes, but there's good tiffin at the Khyber Pass. By that, I mean hashish. So, yeah, carry on up the Khyber. See, what they have to do now is just make a sound in their mind like, and that carpet will lift up. Because flying carpets work with harmonic resonance or throat music. You could sing a carpet to the air. How do I know? Because I got a flying carpet on my wall. I used to fly it around my living room when I was a little boy in my mind. So, yeah, okay, things are touching up a bit here and looks a bit okay in the tasty suburbs. There's a little actual road there. Look, wow, that's the first we've witnessed. This is a lot time later, though. This is way years after the rebellion. What we got here is the trunk road. What's called the trunk road. And it's the major road that leads into the city of Delhi. You can see it's heavily policed. There's no nonsense going on. Coming off the Silk Road. And look at their main road into Delhi. Wow, how fan-fucking-tastic. Yeah, looks like Interstate 45. Look at it. 10 lanes of traffic. So, yeah, it's not really got any infrastructure, but it has got fantastic architecture, and everything else looks like stones and just blown up. So, yeah, you can see the British troops trotting in. Like Trotsky would have trotted in. Yeah, they got Busby's on. So there's various. Oh, here's the elephants. Here's the elephants. Many, many people. Do you know what this reminds me of, don't you? This reminds me of people turning up in San Francisco. But what we are actually witnessing is after the visit of Prince of Wales, they had a military exercise. 35,000. Wow, there's crows outside. 33,000 British troops. Well, it says 35, but I think it's 33. And supported by the new and revamped version, heavily brainwashed version of the Indian troops. So look at them elephants. Wowza. Stunning photographs, these guys. Wagon trains coming through, bringing goods back into the city for all the groovy things. The British money people have arrived. So there's going to be a lot of rubles flying around. There's British ladies riding there. There's a British soldier there, all suntanned, loving it out in India, all that juicy weather. Not in wet old Britain. This looks like it was a building once. Horses drinking in the water up there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, military exercise. They had them in the past as well. These are the people that took part in it. They have guns. We've given them the guns. It's the same. History always repeats itself. Same as happens with all of them wars in Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Is you go in there, take it over, steal their stuff, and then arm them, give them an army, arm them and train them, and then piss off. They can look after themselves now. And hopefully not turn on us later. Because we were rather rough with them. So the British also had spiky hats, like the Germans. Isn't that interesting? These are called pith helmets. I know I'm not taking the pith. These are called pith helmets. And they had little spikes like Germans. They are Germans. They're involved in the military exercise. And he's looking like Wilhelm the Great. Look, he's got a little German cross on him. He's got a little German thing there too. So these are Germans and British. See, Germans and British were buddies. And then you get to like 1914, and then you got to go and fight them. That must have sucked. And there's the Indians. They'll give you what for? So, yeah, they fought well in First World War, Second World War. It was due. and they cook badass food as well. Yeah. They don't have tsunamis, they have punamis. Oh, look at all that antiquitech on top of that clock tower. Wow. That's something else haven't seen really before. But the bustling streets of Delhi after, this is years after, this is 1878. Lots of fruit in the market and everything back up and running. And skilled craftsmen making scrimshaw by the look of it. Beautiful carvery of a tusk, which is indeed scrimshaw and worth a fortune in the modern day. But I don't agree with ivory trade or hurting any elephants. I love elephants. So yeah, things are way happening again 20 years after the affair, aren't they? Less than 20 years after the destruction of Delhi that we so witnessed earlier. Now, a multitude of people and celebration to celebrate the British for giving us all this stuff. Thank you. Thank you for killing millions of us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's like strange Stockholm syndrome. But they were not going to let out. You know, the British they said that the British Empire, the sun would never set on the British Empire. But it did. It did. But they would have done anything to hold on to it by the look of it. Even reset an entire civilization. This is the fort at Delhi, the red brick fort at Delhi. There must be 10 million bricks involved in that thing there. It's just a mind blow. I've had some unbelievable images of that. Oh, beautiful. Imagine if an elephant's just lost their shit in that crowd. It'd be terrible, wouldn't it? But look how beautiful they are. So yeah, coming to the end of this post, I'm going to be back very soon. I've got a couple of interviews coming up, and Flat a Day is on the weekend. Lots to look forward to. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to get myself up to the magical 70,000 subscriber mark, which is not far away. Is what I'm trying to do for a milestone celebration. So there's the cannons that did all of that destruction, led by water buffalo, which I've revered in India. They love them, don't they? Acrobats and people on stilts. I wonder what them things are. Maybe musical instruments. So entertainment. They do snake charming. They do walking the boy up the rope trick, the Indian rope trick. Wow, that looks trippy. That doesn't even look like they're there. That looks like their face has just been put in, like Cabbage Patch Kids. Annie's. Huh? Okay, well, these are definitely altered then, guys, because that looks fake. The top bit looks added. The size of that tower there, though. That's certainly there. And some British people walking along, and a lady, a fine lady with an umbrella. So yeah, no wonder they are bros. I wonder how much people got to take before they actually stand up to their oppressors. These crusty old fucks. Excuse the language. Oh, yeah, it's the king. He's come to see his domain, shoot a few lions while he's there with Mary. And oh, he's bloody. He's not a happy chappy, is he there? This is much later, 1909. This one is. After poor old Queen Vic had popped her clogs. So that's it for today, guys. I will see you all very soon. This has been Martin Leaker on a beautiful spring day, bringing the love and the vibration. See you all very soon. Make sure to comment. Let me know what you think about this. Wow, mind blow.